Rich, are you ready to go over there? Okay, give me just 1 second. Please. A lot of officer presence in the room tonight, huh? Everybody's quiet. Okay. Seeing that it is 5:30, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I would like to welcome you to the Oshtemo Charter Township Regular Board Meeting of July 14th, 2026. And at this time, I welcome you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, item 3 is remote location identification for remote attendance when permitted by statute. We have excused absences for Trustee Cole, who is not well, and Treasurer Bushka, who is out of the office on vacation. So present, we have Trustee Chapman, Clerk Farmer, Trustee Ford, Trustee Sikora, and myself, with 2 absences. 5 present with 2 absences. I invite a member of this body to share a township mission, vision, or core value.
When promises are made, we follow through.
Thank you, Trustee Chapman. Working hard on that. Next, we go to item 5, which is approval of the agenda. Do any members of this body have any changes to the agenda they wish to present? I have one change to the agenda. We will be striking item 13, discussion and consideration, Industrial Development District for Clark Logic Group, LIV LLC. That item, upon learning that one minority property owner for one of the parcels did not receive notice, we will be holding that public hearing at our November 11th meeting, correct? August. Look I just hopped right over summer and fall, didn't I? Our August 11th. So that matter will be coming back, that public hearing will be coming back August 11th. And with that, if there are no other changes to the agenda, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
A motion by Trustee Sikora, support by Trustee Chapman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 with 2 absent. Next is item 6, which is our public official and community partner updates. And I see we have our county commissioner here. Welcome. This would be your time if there's anything you'd like to share with the board and the public.
I don't want to take too much time, so I know the
Deputies in their dark uniforms are waiting to get out there in the heat. So, as you may have heard, we have an opening for a county administrator. Dr. Catlin is leaving August 14th, going down to Charleston, Virginia for a new opportunity for him. We have temporarily replaced him with Deputy Director Terrell Cole, and there's also still Deputy Director Lindy Smith, who will be assisting in holding up the county while we search, hopefully nationally, for a replacement for him. The other thing in the news lately is the state has recommended 2 new judgeships for Kalamazoo County, which are desperately needed. But we're starting budget talks, and there's huge monetary implications getting two new judges. As our vice chair said, the state actually pays the judge's salary. However, the county has to provide facilities and staff, which is a huge expense. And as we've also discussed in the past, the new $95 million courthouse isn't big enough for even the judges we have now.
Right.
And apparently, it's no secret Deputy Copeland's going to be recognized tonight, so I have to tell you my own personal Deputy Copeland story. I have an acquaintance, used to be a relative, only by marriage, not by blood, who served 10 years in prison. He got out a couple years ago, moved into, well, he's in Kalamazoo County. And since then, there's been some police incidents involving him with the Sheriff's Department and the State Police. I ran into him down at the courthouse for one of his hearings. And after hearing a lot of ranting and raving, he said the only law enforcement officer he trusts and ever wants to talk to again is Deputy Copeland. So that's a testament to what type of individual he is. I was in law enforcement for 41 years, and all I can say, if everybody was like him, we'd be in law enforcement heaven. So thank you, Deputy Copeland. So I'm open to any questions, but I don't want to keep him waiting much longer.
Sure. Thanks, Commissioner. Any board questions?
I do wonder where the judges will be housed. Are you guys looking at still using
Thank
the
you.
Gull Road facility?
Well, yes, that's a possibility. I mean, the goal, of course, was to keep everybody in one building, although there's already a judge out at Gull Road. I mean, even with that, they would have to be remodeled or expanded. And again, we're just talking all kinds of money that
Yeah.
we'd have to find somewhere in order to house these judges. Yeah.
Any other questions for the Commissioner? I just want to commend the county for making a quick decision regarding at least the interim replacement for Dr. Catlin, so there will be some overlap between the two of them. I just want to state what a great community colleague he has been to work with regarding communication between the township and the county.
Yeah.
Has done nothing but improve under his leadership. And I wished him well. I also sent him a sad face emoji because he's going to be tough to
It's
replace.
a big loss, actually.
But, I just bear that in mind as you move through the decision-making process of, he really took engagement with the whole county very seriously, and I know he's appreciated by all the supervisors in the county. So I hope that will be an attribute that you will look for
Absolutely.
in the future.
Thank
So,
you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, next up, I would like to move to item number 7. Well, before I do that, are there any other public officials or community partners representing a nonprofit or something that's here that I'm missing? Okay, then we'll close item 6 and move to number 7, which is our resolution, the recognition of Deputy Craig Copeland of Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office. And I'd like to invite Sierra Lucas to introduce this item.
Good afternoon. Today we're here recognizing Deputy Copeland and Erin Phillips for their teamwork, compassion, and commitment to our community. Over the past 4 years, the legal department has worked very closely with Deputy Copeland on traffic enforcement matters in district court. Through every body camera review, police report, and interaction, we've consistently seen professionalism, respect, and a genuine commitment to serving the public. Erin Phillips has demonstrated those same values through her leadership and her service with the Oshtemo Fire Department. As a fire department administrator, she plays an important role in supporting community outreach, strengthening partnerships between public safety agencies, and helping ensure residents have resources and programs to promote safety and well-being. During a recent traffic stop, I was walking outside to my car, and I saw Deputy Copeland standing next to this really cool sports car. And I asked him if he was going undercover for the day. He walked over and informed me that he had just recently pulled over a family at the Oshtemo Township Library, and the children did not have proper safety seats in the back. So he partnered with Erin with the Oshtemo Fire Department to install the child safety seats through the grant program for free in lieu of receiving a citation. Working together, Deputy Copeland and Erin transformed a routine traffic stop into an opportunity to improve the safety and well-being of a local family. Their collaboration demonstrates how partnerships between agencies can create meaningful, lasting impacts in our community, and they're both well-deserving of this recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Officer Copeland, do you mind stepping forward to the podium to be recognized? Thank you.
Am I supposed to raise my right hand first?
No,
Okay, sorry.
no. It's a lot more fun than having to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is my pleasure to recognize Deputy Copeland with a resolution acknowledging Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Department Deputy Spotlight for Oshtemo Charter Township. Whereas Oshtemo Charter Township recognizes the importance of acknowledging the exceptional contributions and dedication of its community partners in achieving the goals and mission of our organizations. Whereas Deputy Craig Copeland, a deputy with the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office, contracting with Oshtemo Charter Township, has demonstrated compassion, teamwork, and a commitment to protecting the safety and well-being of the community he serves. And whereas Deputy Copeland has shown exceptional skill in community policing and partnership, making a significant impact on the township's operations and the well-being of its residents. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Oshtemo Charter Township formally recognizes and honors Deputy Copeland for his exemplary service, compassion, and outstanding performance as a part of the Oshtemo Charter Township team. And be it further resolved that this recognition serves as an expression of appreciation for Deputy Copeland's compassion, teamwork, and positive contributions to the success of Oshtemo Charter Township. And be it finally resolved that the Board of Trustees extends its sincere congratulations to Deputy Copeland and looks forward to his continued contributions to the township and the community. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion by Trustee Ford, support by Trustee Chapman. All in favor say, oh, it's a roll call vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Cole and Treasurer Bushka are absent. Trustee Chapman?
Yes.
Trustee Ford?
Yes.
Trustee Sikora?
Yes.
I vote yes. Supervisor Bell?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted 5-0 with Cole and Bushka absent.
Thank you, Deputy Copeland.
Thank you.
Before we move on, I have one little personal story about Deputy Copeland, too, that I want to make sure that he hears about. I don't remember if it was a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon. I received a call from a resident reporting that a number of mailboxes had gotten smashed in along Kale Avenue. So during that conversation, I said to her, you really need to report that because it needs to be known by law enforcement that that's happened down your street. So I think it was a Sunday. I might have been a Sunday. Anyway, so we have a nice conversation and she's going to follow up. I might also mention that this resident is in her mid-80s. So that Sunday afternoon, I get a phone call from the resident. And she said, Supervisor Bell, I did this part, I did this part. She goes, but I happened to be dropping off some books at the library and noticed a cruiser at Township Hall. So she walked over, and it was Deputy Copeland that was in the cruiser here at Township Hall. And so she approached Deputy Copeland and was making her report about the incidents on Kale Avenue. And she had just come from Menards or Lowe's to purchase a new mailbox. And Deputy Copeland said, I'm paraphrasing, well, how far do you live from here? And she said, not far, Kale Avenue. And he said, well, I'm not very busy right now. And he went over and installed their mailbox for them.
Oh my gosh.
And this was just a few days after we learned about the report around the car seat. So Deputy Copeland, if those two incidents happen that close together, I am sure there are many, many others that don't get lifted up. So extreme thanks. And we will give you a pretty copy of the resolution, and you can hang it in your office, and we just appreciate your good service to the community. Next up, Erin Phillips, will you please come to the podium for recognition? Do you want to read Erin's resolution?
Yeah.
Okay. This is our member of our fire staff, Erin Phillips, who's being recognized as, along with Deputy Copeland, for making sure that that family went home safely with 2 new car seats for their children.
Whereas Oshtemo Charter Township recognizes the importance of acknowledging the exceptional contributions and dedication of its employees in achieving the goals and mission of the organization, and whereas Erin Phillips, Fire Administrative Assistant at Oshtemo Charter Township, has demonstrated compassion, teamwork, and commitment to protecting the safety and well-being of the community she serves, and whereas Erin Phillips has shown exceptional skill in community partnership, making a significant impact on the township's operations and the well-being of its residents, and now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Oshtemo Charter Township formally recognizes and honors Erin Phillips for her exemplary service, compassion, and outstanding performance as part of the Oshtemo Charter Township team. And be it further resolved that this recognition serves as an expression of appreciation for Erin Phillips' compassion, teamwork, and positive contributions to the success of Oshtemo Charter Township. And be it finally resolved that the Board of Trustees extends its sincere congratulations to Erin Phillips and looks forward to her continued contributions to the township and the community.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Oh, don't go anywhere yet. We got to do a motion. Do we have a motion?
Sorry.
And support.
I have a motion by trustee Ford, support by trustee Chapman. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Trustee Cole is absent, Treasurer Bushka is absent, Trustee Sikora,
Yes.
Trustee Chapman,
Yes.
Trustee Ford,
Yes.
I vote yes. Supervisor Bell?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted 5-0 with Cole and Bushka absent.
Thank you.
And same goes for Erin. This is just a smidge of the good work that I know that she's doing out in the community. So thank you for your continued service to the township and helping making families safe with your car seat program, as well as probably doing smoke detector work out there too. So thank you. Next, we will move to item number 9, which is public comment on consent agenda or non-regular session items. So now would be your time, if you wish to make public comment on something in the consent agenda or a non-regular session item, you're welcome to come to the podium. If you would give us your name and address, you have 4 minutes to share with board.
Good evening. My name is Rob Morrison. I live at 5188 Green Meadow Road in Oshtemo. I have some cool comments for this hot day, and they focus on water. A couple months ago, I attended a water conference at the University of Michigan, where author and theorist Jeremy Rifkin addressed the fact that we live on a water planet. He recently published a book called Aqua Blue, where he explores the history of water and human life. I highly recommend his book, and you can get the audio version at the public library. Here are some water facts I culled from his talk. The world is 70% water. Only 3% is fresh water. The Great Lakes contain 20% of the world's fresh water. 40+ million people rely on this source for survival. The Great Lakes also hold an estimated 6 quadrillion gallons of water, 90% of the U.S. supply of fresh water. It's also home to 3,500 species of plants and animals. So Lake Michigan alone holds 1 quadrillion gallons of water, which 1 quadrillion is actually 1 million billions. It's a lot of water. And the fact is, many of the world's great rivers are drying up. The western United States is drying up. So we have the water. So here's some other water facts. In 2023, a study by the University of California, Riverside found that a Google data center withdrew 25 billion liters of water and consumed nearly 20 billion liters of water for cooling in 2022. It's quite a bit. One of the interesting things that Rifkin recommends is that as a society and as a species, we need to move on from our current substance and extraction ideologies. We need to replace this endless mindset of growth with adaptivity, quality of life, stewardship, because water is a generator of all life. He argues that we need a new paradigm for our infrastructure, new communication, new sources of energy and power, transportation, logistics, and the way we manage the hydrosphere. We need to redefine our relationship with nature, governance, and the economy. We need to achieve a biophilia consciousness by developing empathy for nature and adapt to the world instead of imposing our will. This involves moralizing water, developing empathy for lands and wildlife, and committing ourselves to adaptive engagement and embeddedness as opposed to capturing, dividing, controlling, and commercializing all aspects of life. This requires leaving our earth-centric, commodification, exploitive, and industrial perspective to one that is aquacentric, where water is a process, a pattern, and a flow. He recommends that we need to go with the flow. Our societies are not built for this type of global warming and the associated waves of drought, heat, and floods, which are now highly erratic. We are running out of fresh water, and our water cycle worked really well with a temperate climate. That temperate climate no longer exists. So one of the principles that he believes we need to really take seriously, and this is a principle I believe in, it's called the precautionary principle. So essentially it calls for measures are required when our health and the environment are threatened, even if the evidence is not fully verified. We should guarantee health and safety first before polluting. If this principle was in place, firefighters would not have been injured by the best fires because they would not have been built. So Rifkin says that he defines precautionary principle as to identify potentially adverse effects, to evaluate available scientific data, and to evaluate the extent of scientific uncertainty. So if you're not certain that an industry or something's going to benefit you, then you have to be careful and not just go in and do it. If you look at our history of uranium mining and coal, those have had adverse effects for humans and the land. I'll have more to say later, but that's it for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. Hold on one second, please. This is, oh, sorry, okay. All right, fire when ready. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Katie Schneider. I just learned that the Clark IDD hearing was postponed, so I believe this is the time to speak. But I still have concerns that need to remain on public record. Kalamazoo Public Schools reported that abatements granted by Oshtemo Township cost the school district $559,000 in 2023, followed by another nearly $73,000 in 2024 and another $81,000 in 2025. That's well over $700,000 in lost school revenue just in the last 3 years, and 2026 reporting has not come in yet. Yet Oshtemo's own audits do not clearly explain those losses. Before this township opens the door to another tax break, it should explain which abatements caused those losses and why its reporting does not appear to match KPS's. Your GASB Statement 77 is a very important report. Our residents are already hurting under high property taxes and rising costs. I just got my own tax bill. We should not be asked to carry more of the burden so a private developer can increase its profits. When PA 198, which grants the actual tax break, was created, it was meant to encourage industrial investment that needs help in areas and create a real public benefit. It was not meant to subsidize a project that the market already supports. Clark Logic reportedly paid about $2.2 million for one of the 3 parcels, far over what that land was valued. Oshtemo has also argued that industrial land is way too scarce and valuable for large-scale solar. this land is truly that valuable, why are we even discussing a tax discount on it? A recent Cranes Grand Rapids business article describes Kalamazoo as a growing warehousing hub with a tight industrial supply and a very, very strong demand for it. The article specifically highlights ClarkLogic's planned 3-building campus and describes the company as active in its speculative construction. That means the project appears likely to move forward because the market is strong, not because the taxpayers can help fund it. So what would the abatement actually accomplish? Just more profits? Simply a question. Would it create a project that otherwise would not happen, or would it simply increase private profits while schools, libraries, public safety, and residents absorb the loss? Before this returns in August, the township should show the actual project: jobs, wages, investment, tax losses, service impacts, and proof that the incentive is necessary and records are correct. That's part of Oshtemo's own IDD policy. I'm not against an industrial development, an industrial zone. It simply makes sense, and I believe it could create jobs, and that's a good thing. But I am against a public that is already drowning in taxes being forced to subsidize private profits. Thank you.
Oh, hold on, give me 1 second. Now you are.
Now I'm on? Okay. Gary DeBryan, Oshtemo Township. Piggybacking on what Katie was talking about, ClarkLogic, I just have 2 questions that I would really like to have specific answers to. Number one, as I understand it, they're going to be warehousing in that location. What specifically are they warehousing? I think this is very important for the citizens of Oshtemo Township to understand what's being brought into our backyards and know what it is that they're going to be warehousing. If it's 500,000 lithium-ion batteries, well, I think you know how we feel about that. If it's data, well, then it's really a data center. And we need to know that because that impacts us in many, many ways. So I really would like to have somebody give me an answer to what is it that they are going to be warehousing in this new development. By the way, in your packet, you have the categories for tax abatement for developers, and 5 of 7 of those categories begs the question, what are they doing? What are they warehousing? So I'd really appreciate it if I could get an answer to that question. Secondly, again, why are we considering a tax abatement? ClarkLogic is already here. They're not going away. They don't need to be enticed. They're going to hire as many people as they're going to hire. But if we give them an abatement, we reduce potential monies for schools and public safety. I just don't understand why we would ever consider a tax abatement. I would like a specific answer to why are we considering an abatement for ClarkLogic. If you don't know the answer to those 2 questions, then we should not be talking about signing anything with ClarkLogic until we understand those 2 questions. I would really like to have somebody get back with me for answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, good evening, board and community. My name is Amanda Miller. I'm a resident of Almena Township. The land that New Edge is leasing is 1.5 miles from our property. On the agenda tonight, you did have this discussion about ClarkLogic requesting a tax break on 3 parcels of what they call a new enclosed warehouse. Like the other speakers, I'm concerned the building has no stated purpose and therefore may not receive any tax abatement per your own policy. In general, some purposes of Oshtemo's tax abatement policy state that this type of tax break is given for some of the following reasons: to create jobs while still fulfilling the township's responsibility to maintain services and quality of life for the community and to contribute to the overall welfare of the township. Has anyone asked what it is for? It is situated in a place where it could pull energy from those batteries if the batteries were placed there. The policy states that determination for IDD will not be established for speculative buildings. If a data center was created, they take an enormous level of resources from the residents, such as water, electricity, and we know the danger of the batteries. What type of employment would they create? We know they don't create very many jobs. And what type of schools do we want for our kids? To take taxes away from the schools is just one place the taxes would come from. The tax abatement policy states that there must be an application review. The policy states the review will be done by certain individuals listed, township individuals listed, who then complete the report for the board, which includes a tax analysis for decision-making. Lastly, the company objectives must align with the goals and policies of the township, such as welfare, safety, health of residents, diverse employment for residents, and must complement the land use and environmental objectives. They must be compatible with public safety requirements such as fire hazards, and a lot of people have spoken about that in the past. So no, the board would not be in a position at this time to permit this. Second topic of concern for me is the number of meetings that have been canceled by the Planning Commission and the lack of updates and reports that we've received from them. It's common practice for committees to provide reports on their work, and then questions can be directed to the representative regarding that report. Why is this not happening? Without regular reports nor meetings, the community is not being given the opportunity to inform their work, nor give feedback or guidance on the important topics. It feels like they're hiding. The board and planning commission have a main priority, and that's to keep residents safe. I don't feel like that's happening. I went back to the October 25th, 2025 meeting, and I listened to your comments, to legal's comments, and it sounded like we couldn't do anything. That was what I heard. Thank you, trustee, I don't know everyone's name yet, Michael. He did a very good job representing the constituents and concerns. I don't want that part to get lost, that meetings happen behind closed doors, because people coming in here new might not know that recalls were attempted, just didn't get enough information out, and information is still not getting out.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, my name is Priscilla Woodhams, and I live just across the border in Alameda Township. And as many of you know, I'm a pediatrician and I have expertise in community health. My work focuses on protecting health and safety of families, and here I'm here as your neighbor to ask for partnership. I want to step away from some of the tension and say thank you. I know this board has faced immense pressure, long nights, lots of raw emotion, and it's an incredibly difficult job to balance state mandates, corporate developers, and a passionate public deeply concerned about the future of their water, air, and neighborhoods. I sincerely appreciate the time, the care, and the thoroughness of this board and your planning department, that you're taking care to craft a science-based ordinance under the safety of your current moratorium. Because nature doesn't recognize township lines, the proposed site for BESS on South Van Cal heavily impacts my community. You all know, I've said this before, we need our water. It's a simple ask. And if an emergency occurs, the local hydrogeological risks are, as you've heard from me before, are catastrophic. If the air blows, it falls into the soil, next time it rains or any water touches it, it's sandy loam. I'm so sorry, but it can't go there, okay? It just can't. It's sandy loam. Even if you craft some vacuum tank holding thing that slowly draws off our aquifer, because you can't put in a well there, suck the water out of the ground because our aquifer will collapse. Because you can't do that, it simply can't go there. And I'm so sorry. I provided a 6-page legal, scientific-based brief for you all for a ticket out of this nightmare, okay, for some peace for our community. As a matter of transparency, we also attempted to serve a copy of this legal notice that you all hopefully have gotten a copy of, this thing, 6 pages, to the landowner in Mississippi. This just to establish clear accountability, because as the owner of the land, he can say he never knew about the risks and he's not liable. So I thought it was a good idea to prevent that from happening. However, the Postal Service sent me an email today saying that they were blocked from gaining entrance to deliver it. As local leaders, I know you understand how problematic it is to have an inaccessible, unaccountable, out-of-state landlord attached to an industrial project on our border. We need our water. It's a basic ask. Our goal, my goal in giving you that too, our goal was to have a solid science-based information to back up a strict, workable, incompatible ordinance. By using the data I provided to you, you aren't just protecting Oshtemo, you're safeguarding the clean drinking waters of families right next door. You hold the power to protect this land, and we hope you help to do it legally and successfully. Thank you for your service, and please, 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 one more please, keep up the hard work on a strong, legal, defensible ordinance that protects our basic rights to water, air, and shelter. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Any other public comment? Hello, welcome. If you give us your name and address, please.
Jamie Clark, 8383 Clover Drive,
Hi, Jamie.
Texas Township. Kalamazoo, Michigan. Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to introduce myself and our company and reintroduce myself and our company to the board and just say thank you for the time and opportunity to present our projects to the township. As we all know, we have 3 active developments going on in Oshtemo Township. And, one thing that, I'd be happy to do is give my personal cell phone out. As a 56-year-old company, we have never gotten a tax break. And I think there's a lot of confusion that legislation has been written because we are not a manufacturer, we're a developer. So those manufacturers that we attract receive that tax break to incentivize, because we're competing 30 miles down the road with Indiana and another 40 miles in the corner of Ohio all day long on attraction projects. And there's just a lot of confusion, I think, on what is really written and what is real on how the legislation and the accountability of our company is portrayed. I'm not on Facebook, but I've received some information, and that's what I just wanted to share with you. But as a company, last year we recycled 18,000 tons of paper in our company, and that's 306,000 trees. I'd like to ask anybody in this room who knew that. And I love the statement on water. I mean, we are a passionate, environmentally sound company. And you can throw stones at me all day long, but I'm going to stand by our company and the 500 people that we feed every week, and families, and the thousands of development. We've developed about 3.5 million square feet on about 40 environmentally contaminated sites in the history of our company, and have attracted millions of jobs on underserved, dilapidated, non-performing assets that we have revived and brought into communities and have revitalized. So if anybody has any questions, my cell phone number is 269-207-3081.
Can you speak it louder?
It is 269-207-3081. And if you'd like to have a conversation, I'm happy to take your phone call. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, let me reset. Ready?
Yes, thank you. Hi, my name is Miranda Vinden, and I'm a resident Oshtemo, 10963 WM Avenue. And I'm a 45-year-old woman who's also never had a tax break. So I do appreciate environmentally sound businesses, but I will. Yeah. So my challenge is my taxes have doubled in the last 15 years, and my income hasn't doubled. But, so I stand by the previous comments by some of our community members who stated that these taxes need to go to things that we care about in our community in balance with the good things they bring in, like jobs and economic prosperity. But we have to think about environmental stewardship and how are those things funded, and my little income isn't going to do it. You could squeeze me a little harder, but it'll hurt. But businesses might be able to be squeezed a little differently. So think about that. I also wanted to talk about that I submitted an wetland ordinance to the township, and that was like a few weeks ago. And I think there's just some confusion about what ordinances are being applied for the best system. And my understanding was that that there is a best or there's an ordinance for like industrial projects and things like batteries and solar projects, like that's kind of a lump sum ordinance. But I thought there was also going to be an environmental ordinance. Okay, and that might be a good thing to put on the information webpage, because it wasn't quite clear. Because my understanding was that the reason why we're not going to pursue a wetland ordinance is because it's going to be wrapped into the environmental ordinance. So anyways, I think that there could be some clarity about what ordinances are being applied to protect the citizens of Oshtemo Township, and its multiple parts to it. So there's environmental, there's the energy one, and maybe you could talk about other ones that you aren't considering or have considered. So that could be good transparency with the public. And then the last thing, as I drove into here, I noticed that the Oshtemo Library, the public library, seemed to have had the prairie system. It almost looks like a broad spectrum herbicide was applied or something happened there, and it just, oh, it hurts my little plant loving heart. And so you might, and I Googled it because, I'm like, oh, the internet will tell me, and it didn't say anything. And so you might have like a public notice on your page for curious citizens about your plans to improve and maybe plant native species or remove invasives or whatever good work you're doing out there, because it hurt to see as a gardener and as a plant and nature lover. So that's all I have. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Miranda. Anyone else for public comment?
I'm Danita DeBryan, Oshtemo Township. I just have a question about something that was in the packet tonight. It's page 55, and it's already the excerpt of minutes of tonight's meeting, and talking about information with Clark Logic. It's a lot of stuff, and at the end it says, Supervisor declared motion carried and the resolution adopted. What is this thing? Can you tell me?
I will when we go into board member comments.
Okay. It just looks confusing, like everything's already said and done before anything was discussed.
I get that.
Hello, I'm Ann Hicks from Kalamazoo, Michigan, Oshtemo, Michigan, and I have to say, in terms of...
Oh, hold on, Ann. Hold on, give me 1 sec, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
There you go.
In terms of well-being and quality of life and what we, the citizens of Oshtemo, have built on our own, not everything is about your profit, Clark Logic. Not everything is about your development, Clark Logic. Not everything is about your phone number, but I have it, and if anybody wants it, I'm happy to give it.
Will you please address your comments to the board?
So my comments to the board is what I'm curious about is if there's anybody on this board who has any interest in any of the development projects going on. Because I would think, Unless, of course, you've let other people come into our board, like the planning commissioner who lives in Portage. I want to know who lives here. Because if you live here, then you care about here. You care about our town, you care about your land, you live on M Ave. You should care about what's happening right next to you, which is the border of what's happening to me. You should care about the physician who got, got approval to sign a potential contract for more of the best energy. We should all care about this because we are stewards. We're not just stewards, you're stewards. That's what we voted you in for. But not only that, we have paid our entire life. We have worked for earning what we do so we can provide our family the quality of life we have, not to be taken over by not just loud noises, but potentially irreparable damage to all of us. There is there's a BESS facility where cows are no longer birthing calves. There's a large energy battery system, same situation is happening. And I'm just concerned, you've all heard plenty of information, but it feels like to this group it's going on deaf ears because they've all said to you, I've sent you this, I've done this. It feels like we're doing the job for you and it's going on deaf ears because it feels like behind closed doors, in front of us, you cancel meetings, but behind closed doors, it feels like it's happening full-fledged, full force. And we appreciate the ones who have stuck up for us, and we just need a few more. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to make public comment? Hello. Okay.
My name is Sherry Weber. I live at Trundle Lane. I'm here to publicly share a couple of phrases from the letter I received from the township's lawyer regarding a damage claim for a window that cracked on the first morning the township started clearing the Bluffton Industrial Staging Site that is right next to my home. There is not sufficient evidence, was what I was told. I'm curious as to what sufficient evidence would look like. Would that need to be a video of the heavy equipment being dropped and the window cracking at the very moment it happened? And you expected me to have that when you didn't even bother telling us that there would be any construction in our area at all that day or that week. Is that sufficient? Are you expecting proof using some sort of seismic measuring device to examine the metrics that are used to measure harmful impact to structures from construction activity? There are metrics you could use. Guess what? I don't have those metrics. I don't have any seismic device in my home. But since heavy construction right next to my home is ongoing, I am asking you to inform me of exactly what sufficient evidence looks like. Or maybe you could simply agree how absurd it sounds to ask for that type of evidence from me. I've lived in my home for 17 years, peacefully, quietly, safely, until 2 months ago. I've shared with you more than once that I can feel inside my home, in the middle of my kitchen, not near any walls. I can feel my house shaking from the vibrations from the construction company dropping heavy items, not just on that first day, but on many days since then, and I've told you that. Here's one more phrase from the letter. The damage appears to have originated from the inside rather than as a result of any adjacent construction activity. So you think my daughter or I broke the window and then cunningly waited around for the possibility of the township maybe building a construction site next to us so I could blame it on you? Does that sound absurd? Of course it sounds absurd. Is that what you really believe? Because frankly, it's not only absurd, it is incredibly insulting. It's impersonally insulting to me. I understand very well how the system works. The insurance company denies and makes excuses. You get your lawyer to defend the insurance company rather than believing and defending me, and then you deflect the blame onto me. That's the definition of gaslighting. You're doing it so you can do whatever you can get away with rather than doing the right thing. You're pointing the finger at me instead of simply taking accountability. It's so disappointing. So disappointing. We've all seen this type of behavior over and over at the national level for the last 18 months. All you've accomplished in the last 2 months is showing my 19-year-old daughter that it's also happening right here, and it's happening to us. Although the construction company's activities and the vibration from that did break my daughter's window that morning, our integrity isn't broken. And I'm here tonight to make that absolutely clear to you. I'm also inviting each one of you to examine your own integrity. You have the power, you have the decision-making ability to do the right thing for the public that you serve. As I say, 17 years, I lived peacefully, calmly, safely. The last 2 months has not been that at all for me. I will ask you tonight, and I'm going to keep coming back to ask you again and again, to simply do better.
I'd just like to know where we're at on this battery storage ordinance, or what the heck it is. I've been coming to these meetings since November, and you guys knew about it before. And, I mean, Katie could draw this up in a minute, and you guys have taken, I don't know how much longer. I just wonder where we're at that. Okay. Then the core values, I've heard that so many times. Transparency. And then we have closed meetings? Huh, what the heck is that about? And then you won't, and nobody will answer any questions. Okay, and the community meetings, I think that's a great deal, but they're not recorded. Why is that? Why don't we record them? We record these meetings. I mean, it's the transparency is just, it's crazy. I just like to know, you know, I live right across the street from this battery storage thing. I own farmland, about 180 acres, I guess. And I just wondered, what are you guys doing? I mean, you got a lawyer here, we're paying for, you know, it just, Katie could do this in a minute. Why don't you get with her? And I asked you guys to go to the townships. You said you went to Almena. Did you go there or just call them?
No, I talked to,
Oh, you're talking. Wow. Okay, thank you.
is there anyone else wishing to make public comment? Okay, at this time, I'm going to close public comment. It is 6:24. We'll take a 10-minute break and return at 6:35. I'm glad you're enjoying conversations, but we're going to go ahead and get this meeting back up and to order. Are you ready? You guys are ready to go? Kenji? 1 minute, okay. Good? All right. All right, it is 6:35, and I'm going to call this meeting back to the order. Next is item number 10, the consent agenda items. Since no one pulled anything out of the consent agenda, is there any discussion on any of these items?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support?
A motion by trustee Chapman, support by trustee Sikora. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5 with 2 absent. Next, we'll move into item number 11, which is topics for board discussion and information. I have a few tidbits to share today, but I wanted to start with any of the other members of the board regarding anything related to Public Act 233, Energy Ordinance, et cetera. Okay, so an update on where the draft is at. So the draft is now in the hands of Oshtemo Fire Department, and so Oshtemo's Fire Department is reviewing, as you likely know, that a plan for fire protection is a part of the ordinance, needs to be a part of the ordinance, and so the fire department is reviewing that and making comments on what's been presented, and so that's the status of the draft ordinance at this point. It's been asked, and I think at this time I want to share with you that the industry professional that the township contracted with to provide expert opinion on the elements that need to be considered or addressed in the energy ordinance, particularly around battery energy storage. His name is Kevin Konecki, Koneky. He is a battery, he's a chemical science, or he's an engineer, chemical engineer, and he's been working in battery systems since 1955. And so that is the name of the person that we are contracting with. It is, once we get to the draft to the Planning Commission, making Mr. Konecki available to discuss and present the items, particularly around battery storage and safety considerations, is the focus that we have really wanted him to spend time on. It will be made available. I just don't know right now when that's going to happen, but the Planning Commission, I think, is going to want to hear from him. So that's who's working on the draft ordinance. And let's see. For those of you that made public comment tonight, and I know we've received some public comment, particularly around environmental concerns regarding a potential project. We've been collecting all those comments, and when the Planning Commission goes into deliberation about the ordinance, those will all be shared with the Planning Commission, so they will get those too. Some of you made public comments, very well articulated public comments. If you want to send me that in an email, we'll make sure that we add those to that information that go on to the Planning Commission. I've been asked if we can work on a timeline, a backward timeline. I had intended to try to get to it by tonight's meeting, but I haven't had an opportunity to do that, but it is on my list to talk with Planning Director. Certainly Attorney Porter will be in that. So if we put the target as we want an ordinance as the day the moratorium expires, we will create a draft timeline to reflect what we think will happen. My hesitancy in doing that is if the timeline gets moved, then people will become frustrated by that. But I think November's not that far away, so I think that we will work on preparing some sort of backward timeline. The target will be, what makes most sense is when the moratorium ends. And then, many of you probably received some correspondence regarding the situation with Zeeland Township, right? Zeeland Township filed a lawsuit against the developer, and I did some reading on it this weekend, but I didn't dive deep into it. There's a little bit of difference of what's happening in Zeeland compared to what's happening here. There's already a project at the MPSC that is in progress in Zeeland Township. So we are not in that same place. So they're both apples, but they're not the same variety of apples. From the daughter of an old apple farmer, so there you go. Anyway, definitely we'll keep an eye on it. If there's, I haven't even had a chance to talk to Attorney Porter whether or not the merits that Zeeland has put forward is worthwhile. So the question that was asked to me was Oshtemo going to join that effort? Well, we have to evaluate their effort to see if it makes sense for us to do that, because if we join, that would be time and expense, and so we want to make sure that we're evaluating that carefully. So those are the updates I have to share with the board and the community tonight. I do want to hearken back before we get too far into the evening and see if there's any comments regarding what we heard during the first public comment period. You've all heard that this is what I wanted to say. The material prepared in the packet is merely for board information. It doesn't mean it's a done deal. The board could say no. So it's just like the resolutions are prepared and in the packet. For tonight, as an example, the board could vote to not move that resolution forward and it wouldn't go anywhere. So that's the intent of that extra paper, or that paperwork that you're seeing in there regarding the request by Clerk Logic to be recognized as a IDD district. It is my expectation that when that August 11th hearing happens, that we will have a full presentation regarding the project and getting the questions answered regarding, I know people are concerned about what may be stored in that building and what the use is. I have the same questions, and so, the applicant, I hope, will be present to talk about their project and what they're envisioning. The first step of, so creating the industrial district is different than the IFT. The IFT is the actual request for tax abatement. Am I correct, Attorney Porter?
That's correct.
Okay, so the August 11th hearing will not be about whether or not we are approving a tax abatement. In order for the applicant to even be considered for the tax abatement, which is the IFT, which I'm forgetting what that stands for.
Industrial Facilities Tax Exemption.
Thank you. The IDD district has to be formed. So the August 11th hearing, although we can talk about the applicant doing a potential request for that, we will not be giving any tax abatements at the August 11th public hearing. So I just want to make sure people hear there's a difference. It's a multi-step process before abatement would be considered. There was a question about the information regarding This is regarding Miranda's comment, and I'm slipping my mind exactly what the comment was, but I wanted to let you know that on the community conversations page, we began to separate out different topics. So, for example, at the last community conversation, I believe it was you that spoke specifically regarding the Safe Streets for All grant and tree preservation. And so as people come to community conversation and have different topics that extend beyond Public Act 233, we added another section to call out environmental concerns as well. And we will continue to add information as to related topics. There was a question about conflict of interest. So as the board members, we are required, all board members, doesn't matter if it's Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Commission, or the Township Board, you are required by law to disclose any conflicts of interest, and especially before a vote. So, you know, I understand the question and why that might be raised, but if any elected or appointed official was found to have a conflict of interest regarding any particular project that had not been disclosed, that would likely result in legal ramifications. And so that's some of my feedback to some of the public comment from tonight. Doesn't mean I won't think of more things later. Is there any final comments from my fellow board members? Okay. I'm going to close item A then, discussion on Public Act 233. Next is item B. And this was posed, so we have the moratorium on battery energy storage, we have the moratorium on data centers. The question has been posed by the planning director, is the board interested in pursuing a moratorium regarding solar development? Because that language is getting, it was reevaluated and into the new ordinance. So if a solar project came forward right now, then, you know, if they complied with our ordinance, it could get developed. But I guess, you know, how many moratoriums do we want? You know, it's kind of, but, you know, at this point, with all the uncertainty, I just wanted to hear what other people thought.
The industrial grade or industrial sized projects should all be included. All energy industrial sized projects, I think, should be part of the plan, because to parse out just one part, I think, would create a vulnerability.
Yeah, you got to speak up, Michael.
Sorry about that. I don't have the loudest speaking voice, but I do think that it should be included, because we're talking about industrial scale energy. And I think solar would be included in that. That is energy production versus energy storage, but I do think that they could be put together and should be put together, or at least for consideration.
You mean having a moratorium on industrial-sized solar projects?
I would, until at least we final draft of our ordinance. I think they should be combined.
Okay. Trustee Ford?
No, that is good logic there. I'm fine with that.
I agree too. So at our next meeting, I'll ask our legal department to prepare that material for a moratorium on solar projects, and we can, you know, take a look at that at our July 24th meeting. Next is item C. So this is, this is come back up because the group of townships has made an appeal to be heard at the Michigan Supreme Court. And we discussed at previous meeting that the township could not enter as a party into that, but we could renew our resolution of support and send that off to them to support their efforts to try to be heard by the Supreme Court. The one caveat I have is that we don't have the answer yet about whether or not the Supreme Court is going to take up the case. And I think we expect it in a few days, right?
Well, I think if you expect it in a few days, you're maybe a little overly optimistic.
Oh. I meant they would know whether or not the Supreme Court was going to hear it.
Oh, no, I would not hold my breath. Unfortunately,
Okay.
the Supreme Court acts when they're so inclined, and
Okay.
you can wait weeks, months.
Oh, I thought there was a number of days that they had, okay, it doesn't matter. Okay,
No, all the rest of us are subject to the law, but the Supreme Court is not.
gotcha. So I put this resolution in here. I put it, it's not an action item, because I wanted to have some feedback from the board. Is there any language, I mean, I think it's pretty solid, but is there any language that other board members would want to see in that resolution?
I felt fine with what I read in there, but I guess I wanted to know if you could give a little color on the difference between this resolution and the one that we passed many months ago, I think. Didn't we? We declined to join a lawsuit, but we did express displeasure with the rulemaking process.
Absolutely. This is very, very similar.
Okay.
I'm sorry you don't have a red line. It's not.
Okay.
It's not demarkably different from what you were given before. It reestablishes our position that it is wrong, basically, for the state to strip local units of its authority, and that basically you're opposing 233.
Yep.
I think in addition to sharing it with this group, I think you should share it with your state reps and state senator.
Yep. Understood.
Not that that's achieved
And our
very much.
neighbors as
So more of
well,
a
too.
reaffirmation of our position from earlier.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. That's all I wanted to understand. The language looked fine otherwise.
Okay. Any other feedback?
Just for clarification, I believe I know the answer to this, but this would not impact any potential litigation in the future should we choose to have anything before the MPSC or regarding BES. You don't think this would have any impact on that if litigation were to commence?
I don't think it would impact litigation or our appearance before the MPSC. I think it is a valid concern for a township to express its dissatisfaction with stripping this board and its citizens of local input. And again, we can argue the rest of the law separate from this, and I don't think it would have a negative impact. Frankly, any township that thinks it's a good idea to strip local units of their jurisdiction and authority on behalf of their residents, I would question their sanity. So, no, I don't think it'll have a negative impact.
Thank you.
Dusty, anything you want to add? No. So I have a question. Let me get to it in the packet here real quick. So I think, if I'm understanding, we can amend the agenda at any time during the meeting?
You can with the consent of the board, yes.
Okay. So I think that we could put this on tonight's agenda. The resolution is prepared. We are in support of it. We could just do it tonight if we wanted, or do you want to see it come back?
I think we could do this tonight. It was posted to the public, and yeah, I think we're all on board with this.
Okay.
Do we need to wait?
Well, item 11 is really topics for board discussion and
Okay.
information, so
That's
why
fine.
we'll just replace it with, we'll just make it the new item 13.
Would that require a motion to amend the agenda?
Yes.
I will make that motion.
Support.
Motion by trustee Chapman and support by trustee Sikora to amend the agenda and take action on item 11C this evening. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-2. Next, we'll move on to item D, which is discussion regarding the Oshtemo Fire Department replacement vehicle. I know Chief is here. He provided a lot of detailed information that was requested. You'll notice that there is not a budget amendment with this time, so I think we need to give Chief a direction so that he can bring the budget amendment back and Well, there's no budget amendment. I mean, I guess if somebody wanted to make a motion that included the budget amendment, we could totally do that.
Okay.
So,
I intend to make a motion for option one at some point for the EV truck tonight, so I guess we might want to talk about adding that to the other business later.
okay.
You don't have to wait, we can just do the resolutions as we go through. It would make sense instead of coming, talking about it and bringing it back later.
Okay. All right, well, so trustee Ford has stated his preference.
For 10 years.
Is there any other, I have statements from trustee Cole, who sent her statements regarding this item, so that I could read them to you. How would I do that next? And I'll send them to you, Dusty. This is from trustee Cole. Put my granny glasses on. Okay. Fire chief's vehicle replacement. For the record, I'm against the EV vehicle for the fire chief. It's not clear to me if the plan is to have a charging station at his house or in a covered area at the township, or both. But I'm not in support of it, mostly because in the research I've done, I've learned that EVs are approximately 40% less effective in the extreme cold and would need upwards of 12 hours to fully recharge. Once the vehicle is fitted with all of the equipment it needs for our special use, that will drain the battery system for its special use. It will drain the battery system even further. That vehicle could stay on a site for hours at a fire scene, and likely will at times. And what if he gets back to charge it and then gets another call? Or what happens if it sits on a seat so long that the battery dies? Does it then need to be towed to a charging station? I don't feel that an emergency vehicle should be our pilot test case for an EV. That's her comments.
So full disclosure, I have an EV. Several of us board members do. And I thought about this long and hard, and I fully support going to an EV future. I do have reservations, though, when it comes to an emergency vehicle. As you know, I've traveled extensively across the country in my EV with minimal problems, but I also think of a situation where if the power is out, we have an emergency situation such as a tornado hits the area and has taken out a large number of areas. I would be most concerned about our emergency vehicle being electric. I do think that we should move forward, but I'm not necessarily sure an emergency vehicle would be the best test case. I think that using building inspection or some of our other vehicles as an electric vehicle as a test would probably be more prudent. I know other members of the board don't agree with that, but as an emergency vehicle, I do have some concerns. That would be where I'm at with that.
Thank you. Clerk?
Yeah, I think we should keep moving forward with this, but I have the same reservations with an emergency vehicle. And I know that actually in your trip across country, you found that you had no problems with charging. So that was good, but it's just difficult because we don't know how it's going to affect the emergency vehicle.
What does that mean?
If the same issues that Kristen brings up with the being at a location for an extended period of time, that type of thing.
For example, the truck that is being discussed here, the EV one, I have that same truck. It sits in my garage for days at a time, powering my home. So the little accessories that we install and set it on scene, like it's not an issue, guys. The power draw is minimal. It's not going to degrade the battery there sitting on a in fact, it's just not going to. I don't know how to explain it. The energy use for the vehicle to sit there, excuse me, the energy use of the vehicle while it's not moving is incredibly low. The power draw is infinitesimal. It's the driving that takes battery out. But so I've been driving EVs for 15 years. I have zero reservations about making this switch and doing this first one. If this was a ambulance, or if it was regular line of service apparatus, I would feel differently. But this is the chief's personal vehicle, the one that he's gonna drive, and he works more of a 9 to 5 type of shift. He's not first on scene necessarily. It's more of a command and control center. So this is actually a perfect fit vehicle for the use case in my experience and opinion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you've persuaded me. I'm serious.
I'm happy to
because
answer
it's
any
the
other questions.
unknown
I've
that's
just
the
been
problem.
around this a lot, and I think unfortunately trustee Cole's comments are misinformed.
Well, I see your point, though, that this could actually end up being the best case for a test case scenario, because like you said, it's not a
Precisely.
regular.
It's not the vehicle that has to be there first.
Well, and it doesn't seem like Chief has any reservations about it.
Yeah. We've discussed it at length, so I think he's aware of what the learning opportunities are gonna be and what risks might exist. So we're going to learn things, there's no doubt about that, but finding that vehicle without any juice to power itself in this township is an unlikely scenario that I cannot foresee that ever happening here.
Well, the thing I go back to is a couple of years ago, when I worked in Marshall, at Oakland Hospital in Marshall, there was a major ice storm that went through, and there was days, and now that is a worst case scenario, it was days without power. I actually am, I'm 1 inch away, I'm sorry, I'm soft-spoken. I'll bring it up higher. In a situation like that, with an emergency response vehicle, that's my only concern. Again, like I said, I've driven it, I've used it to power everything, high energy demand equipment. So I know it can do it. It's just an emergency vehicle if we were days without power, such as a tornado, such as an ice storm, things like that. One thing I do agree with, though, is this might be an ideal test case because it is a high-stress situation. So I think you have a very valid point there, but my only hesitation is in that one-off situation where there is a disaster, this could prove it one way or another, yes, but that would be a hesitation. Not saying against or opposed, but I do have that hesitation in that situation.
I can appreciate that. I guess when the power goes out, the gas pumps tend to go out too, right? And so you just find the next one. And that's been my experience as an EV owner as well. So if the power is out for an extended period of time and I need to do driving and I can't charge at home like I do predominantly, I go down the road and I find a charger. If that's Plainwell, that's fine. If it's the dealer here on
Ninth.
West Main, great. Or if it's over at the International,
yeah.
sure. So there's options, I guess, and I'm hearing the concerns. I can appreciate where you're coming from, but I don't share them.
I think that for myself, going to 9th Street, going somewhere else is okay. I don't have to be on an emergency scene. That's the only thing. If there was a widespread disaster, I would expect, I would think, I'm not chief, I don't sit in your shoes, I would suspect there's potential of having to be on multiple scenes. Again, it's just a concern. It's not a no. It's just, have we thought about it? That's it. But you have a valid point. If the power's out at my house, I use backup at International, at 9th Street, which is very high capacity and cheap, surprisingly. So I get that, and it's quick to charge. But it's that widespread. If there was a widespread, having the chief out of the area would be the concern. And it's just something to think about for discussion. Those don't happen often, honestly. I can't tell the last time we had a long duration power outage here, but it is something to consider.
Trustee Sikora?
So yes, as full disclosure, I do drive an EV too. But regardless, my issue here is a different slant. I have supported EV use and encouraging the township to have EVs and make that conversion where possible. But each time this comes up, I bring up the point that we have no plan for introducing EVs to township government. And each time one of these comes up, we approve something, such as when we bought the last round of gas-powered vehicles, that we were only going to do this if we coupled that with, we are going to go and find a consultant and get an evaluation so we know what we're doing. And although she's not here, I know Treasurer Bushka has expressed many times her concern about comparing this to that, which is one of the issues that a consultant, an evaluation of our needs and what we can provide is what they would address. And that would answer a lot of our questions and a lot of the questions of the public. I don't want to hold the chief's vehicle hostage, but that's kind of what my idea was last time we passed one of these motions, was that we weren't going to buy more until we got an evaluation and decided on what we wanted to do. So on, I guess, principle, since we voted before to have an evaluation done before we approve another vehicle, I will vote against this, not because I have anything against the chief and not because I don't support EVs, but because we all agreed that we were going to get a consultant to do an evaluation, so we all felt comfortable of the future of where we were going, how we were going to address the charging, how we were going to do all this stuff, and that I don't see that happening in this proposal here.
I agree with Trustee Sikora wholeheartedly. And I know Treasurer Bushka is not here, and actually, we've heard from Trustee Cole, but she's not here to vote either. And I know Treasurer has some passionate feelings around this. I think if we move forward making this change now, to me, it's just poor planning. It's good intentions, but poor planning. And, you know, I would rather have, so, you know, I'm thinking as we go to do the, you know, move into the planning for the strategic planning, campus changes like this could be a part of that work as well. And so it's not like it would never happen. It just means that right now it seems like it's kind of doing one thing that seems a bit haphazard when we could be doing something much, much broader and have better impact. As far as vehicles go, the new, I mean, other than, I know the chief crosses his fingers every day that the Tahoe keeps going, but the oldest car in our fleet is the Camry that serves the Parks Department. So, and that Camry, even though it's quite a number of years old, is still trucking along just fine. And so, I mean, to me, it makes sense to, you know, authorize the chief to make the purchase of the vehicle. I support going with the gasoline-powered engine, and then, you know, really making a plan if we want to do green energy types of projects, that it's broader than just one vehicle right now. And that's just how I feel about it, right? It just seems like not the best timing.
I guess I'm confused why it came back to us today.
Because we asked the chief last time, he brought.
Right, well, and then we have the opinion from Jim,
Right.
but we could have waited to bring it back when we had more information then. I mean, that's acceptable as well.
Well, I think the intent was you have more information, and.
You said that we have good intentions but poor planning, so I'm saying it could have been brought back to us after the
Oh,
planning.
I mean about doing green energy
Sure.
type of projects in general. So
Yeah.
I just don't think that, to me, that feels like a longer range project to find what we can do and what, you know, it should go in our CIP, right? Like,
It should.
we hire a consultant and we do a campus evaluation, and, you know, do we decide where we can put put solar on, and then when we decide that, is it gonna be a carport where we can put solar on it and a charger, and then, rotate in vehicles that aren't emergency related. So that's what I think is a better direction to go. And that we just need to take care of the chief right now, allow him to replace that vehicle, and then plan.
The only vehicle available right now is the EV. The rest of them you gotta wait quite a while for.
You mean from the dealership?
That's what I heard from the chief, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
So after the last meeting, 2 meetings ago, when you tasked me with bringing back information, I called Sealy Ford and said, okay, if I'm going to go with the Ford F-150 internal combustion engine, which is they call it a police responders, the police package, so it's got all the upgraded electrical system and everything. They quit taking orders for the 2026 model year 2 days before I called them. And they'll open it back up in 2 to 3 months. And then your expected build date will be either the end of the year or the beginning of next year. Not to say I can't find a different internal combustion engine vehicle, but sticking with the ones that were made for this heavy-duty work with the lights and the sirens and all that stuff is preferable. The F-150 electric vehicle is, with my luck, it's probably sold. But that is in Vicksburg. And they're limited. There's not many left out there. So I'm at the board's decision on what you'd like me to do. Obviously I will continue driving the Tahoe until the wheels fall off of it, or the transmission I'm thinking will drop out here in front one day. But I'm at your pleasure, and I know we made a deal back last year when we ordered a new rescue truck. We were really pushing hard to go electric, and I did not want to go electric on an emergency response vehicle. So at that point, I made a deal and said, I will be the test subject with my vehicle. I feel much more comfortable having mine as the test vehicle and not putting on a front line. I will admit, I'm not a huge electric vehicle fan, or I wasn't. I drove one. It was really nice. Obviously nicer when I'm driving, but I think what Zach sold me on was I'm thinking, where am I going to plug it in? Where's the plug? Where's the plug? And he's like, you don't have a gas pump sitting at the station. When you need fuel, you go get fuel. When you need to plug it in, go plug it in. As far as storm related, widespread, yeah, that could be a problem. I do have a whole house generator. And so if we did hook up power at my house for it, I would make sure that it was connected to the whole house generator. So if there was a big problem like that, we could still plug in. So, and my integrity, so anybody in the public thinks I will not use the vehicle to charge my house. So that would be bad. But so I'm at your mercy. If you want me to go with electric and try it, I am more than willing to do that. And then we can get that rolling this week. If you want to stick with an internal combustion engine, I'm fine with that. I will drive the Tahoe until it doesn't go, and then we'll figure out what I'm going to do in the meantime. We'll work it out. We've done it in the past. One last thing that I am now forgetting. I had one more thing. Yeah.
Was it fast enough?
Oh, it's quick. Yeah.
Good.
Probably get me in trouble.
Who's going to pull over the chief's car? Seriously?
Javon.
Javon. Okay. Thank you, chief.
Yep.
Well, with the whole host generator, my concerns are, have changed. That addresses the concerns I have.
If I may, one last thing, I was gonna say, this last, picture that I put in that packet, I highly recommend the board, if we're gonna do this, let's do it right. Let's put a canopy out in the parking lot, one charger maybe, that, we don't have to do 10 of them. But the canopy could also be used for the other township vehicles to get them out of the weather.
Makes this canopy gonna be.
But that's not before us tonight. Yeah, okay.
But if we had a plan by hiring a consultant, we might have that.
Well, I don't think we necessarily are, well, okay. We have an option here. I mean, this is just supposed to be board discussion for the next step, which was to bring something back at the next meeting. Treasurer Bushka's not here, and Kristen Cole's not here. So, I think it would be prudent to not make a decision tonight and bring it back to the next board meeting.
Can we, yeah, I agree with you. Can we talk about the consultant thing again? Because we've talked about it before. I thought we were moving in that direction. I thought I got the ball rolling for us in that direction when we had an initial site visit and an eval from an electrician. So what do we got to do tonight to get to a point where we all agree that we're going to be hiring a consultant with a rough idea of what that consultant's going to do?
So that's going to come up, I think that's an excellent example of tomorrow is our budget kickoff. So there's no money for doing a campus evaluation.
But sure, but we make budget amendments, and if this is a priority for us, I think that we could expedite bringing in a consultant, right? So something that I would like us to talk about. I don't want to wait and do next year's budget first.
I think that we need our maintenance director to weigh in on this. I mean, you know, there's,
All of the folks that I've spoken to at this organization are ready to go. They need leadership from a consultant to help organize them. That's what I'm hearing. Everybody's ready to go. We're waiting. Apparently waiting on this board, I guess. So let's help them. Let's get them going. What do we got to do as a board to empower the folks in the township to run and create a plan? So we get this AI-generated image at the end.
yeah.
I mean,
How can you tell,
that's a very
right?
nice little output there. It was good job, Chief. But seriously, that's an outcome that I think we are all can visualize that we would like to see, but how do we get there?
So you got two things going on now. We've got consideration regarding the vehicle to bring it back so we can have further discussion. And then the second thing you've introduced is how do we get the ball rolling on a plan? Those are two
Yeah.
different things.
Yep.
Okay. So, and I think this conversation would be a good start tomorrow night in
That's fair.
budgeting. So whether or not we try to work it in 2026, I mean, we're talking RFP, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into preparing for something like that, and then do we want to look at it holistically? Like, do we only want to do an evaluation regarding green energy projects? Do we want, we haven't had a good facilities
Yeah.
evaluation in a long time.
The only concept that we've ever really talked about is fleet electrification. And I think keeping the focus on fleet electrification is how you can narrow scope and stop talking about, rain gardens and solar panels and other parts of a green energy infrastructure program. Let's just talk about electrifying the fleet, and then that's how you can get to a plan like what was visualized here in our packet, right?
Okay. No, that's a point, that is a way to go.
That's how I would like to think about it, because if you broaden it to beyond this, the cost goes through the roof to get off the ground, and what are we achieving? That's too much. Let's focus on one specific problem, and that's local emissions and electrifying the fleet.
Okay. All right. So are we good to bring this back for continued discussion, possibly a budget amendment for consideration at the July 24th meeting regarding the fire chief's
July.
vehicle? 24th.
28?
Oh, 28th.
Oh,
14,
yeah,
yeah,
28,
14 and 14
Tuesday.
is 28, isn't it? Yeah,
Yes.
July 28th.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
2026.
Yeah. I keep writing 2028 on everything today. I don't know why. I'm like, you don't need to rush time anymore. Coming back, okay. 7/28. The next two items are really just items for information. I thought the public might find the Kalamazoo County Hazardous Materials Response Team Annual Report interesting, just so if you weren't aware that there is an organized effort county-wide to address incidents regarding hazardous materials, and then just our regular monthly 911 calls to dispatch. That's different than the report that we get from the Sheriff's Department, so this is dispatch calls. I double-checked before I accumulated or put this information together, and we have not received our June report from the Sheriff's Department yet, but I anticipate it'll be here shortly. So I don't know, any questions or comments regarding items E or F?
Actually, I would comment on item E, the hazardous materials.
Mhm.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, never mind, I'm sorry. I was thinking of hazardous materials, household hazardous materials. Sorry, never mind.
And actually, that's a good reminder, because swallowed wrong. That program is available for residents. Maybe we can do that reminder at board and committee updates. Our community uses that program strongly, which is great. Okay, next we'll move to item 12, which is a first reading, text amendments to refuse bin ordinance. Oh, we have our ordinance officer, Alan, to present this item.
Hi. The text amendment is being submitted for first reading, for hopefully a motion. The background on this is, in the 2 years that I've been here, one of the biggest complaints that I get is trash. Blowing around on the ground, not in dumpsters. This is primarily in the commercial district, multi-residential areas. So I started looking into the old zoning ordinance and found some verbiage in that, that back when that was originally written, it was only requiring a 4-foot screening around those. And then I started communicating with zoning to find out that the new site plans are 6 feet. So at that point, I started discussing, hey, we need to do something to get all of this on the same page, and something to work with some of these apartment complexes that don't have anything. I regularly go into these places, and there'll be garbage laying out all over the ground, not in the dumpsters, blowing across the roads, blowing onto other people's property. That happens a lot, residential homes call. So meeting with the planning and zoning director and the attorney Porter in the legal office, the changes that we wanted to make to that would give us some ability to work with some of these businesses and apartment complexes to get them on the same page as the current sites, where, because you have some old ones that just don't have anything at all. And then some of them, one apartment complex I went into has one dumpster. They set a second one next to it on the grass. It's not even on a proper foundation. That's the kind of stuff that I'm running into. So hopefully with this in place, with this ordinance in place, I'll be able to work with these property owners or managers and do something with these. Oh, and one other thing, I did review a lot of other municipalities, and the 6-foot screening around is pretty standard for everyone that I read.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? for Ordinance Officer Miller? Trustee Sikora?
Yes, just quickly. So our current ordinance, so when someone comes in with a apartment building that they want to build, current requirement is the 6 feet?
Correct.
So we're kind of looking at places that were built before that ordinance?
Yes.
To kind of retrofit them?
Yes.
Okay, and, yeah, I guess that's good.
And they need to
Thank you.
close the lids.
Yeah,
Yes, that is in the ordinance also.
okay. And this is kind of an odd question, I guess, but under the, we have 254.007, dates for compliance, section 7. What is the reference about 500 feet of a school or schoolyard? I didn't understand. Am I looking at the right one? Yeah.
Yes, that was in the existing one, and
Okay.
that wasn't changed.
Okay. It obviously had some relevance, something, but I was reading through it, I saw that, and I thought, what's special about that?
So, yeah, I don't know what the reasoning for that was. I mean, I can make a couple guesses,
No,
but.
yeah, oh, okay. Don't worry about it.
Well, it's just like, it's not in the ordinance that you need to keep the refuse lid closed, because I think there was a presumption that people would close the lid, and it causes a lot of garbage and debris in some of our high-density residential and some commercial properties, but I think it was probably just assumed people close the lid, and that is not the case.
And the reason, one of the reasons is that most of the commercial businesses, they have property management, they have maintenance that are on site, the apartment complexes have maintenance, and you can tell them, hey, your maintenance need to get out in the morning, they need to pick the stuff up, they need to close them. That just doesn't happen all the time, so hopefully this will help.
Is there a financial implication if they do not? So I only say this because I'm visualizing an apartment complex. They're open 9 to 5. They check before, they check afterwards. Residents leave it open. Trash goes flying when a windstorm goes through. Are they going to be financially held liable? Is there any enforcement tool or teeth to this? How would we still prevent that? Because
There is, I could cite them. I mean, that's not my objective. Again, I don't jump in my truck and go driving into the apartment complexes at 8 a.m. before they even start work. I do, this is just stuff I see if I'm going to do an apartment inspection, something like that, and I end up in one of those complexes, and it's the middle of the day, because they all are working and on site at that point. But no, and that's all I try to get them to understand is, hey, you come in the morning, make your rounds, pick up the litter so it's not blowing into the residential areas. That's one of my biggest problems.
the other question was, shall be construed of material that is compatible with the architectural materials used in site development. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you had in mind with that? If a building's brick, it needs to be a brick enclosure. If it's wood and stucco, what do you mean by that?
That came from zoning.
Yeah, that
because
comes right, sorry.
You go ahead.
That comes
Yeah.
right out of our zoning ordinance, and I'm assuming that Alan would defer to our planning department to help describe that to somebody, but basically, we wouldn't want them to build it out of old pallets. Either if they use decent boarding or some decent siding, typically what we get is block, brick, things like that. Yeah, something that is what you would assume normal construction for such facilities. Doesn't have to be gold-plated or anything, just.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller?
No, I just commented, like it was said before, you expect people that they would close the lid and realize it's not going to blow away. It's unfortunate that we have to have an ordinance to help push people along that way, but if that's the only way we can address the issue, let's address the issue and make it a better looking place for all the neighbors and everything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alan.
Thanks.
Since this is an action item for the board this evening, I will open up an opportunity for public comment. If there's anything regarding Item number 12 that you wish to share with the board, now would be your time to do that. Seeing none, I will close public comment. We can go into board discussion.
Are you ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion. I think this
I move
is,
to approve for first reading the text amendments to the refuse bins ordinance, section 254, and set for second reading on July 28th, 2026.
I'll second.
motion by trustee Ford, a second by clerk Farmer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries 5 with 2 absent. Sorry, I have to advance through my packet here. I think one thing for me that's notable is, do you remember a couple years, last year? I don't remember, but we did the snow removal ordinance. So that was another item that Alan brought forward after his first year with the township, and he was spending a ton of time on the phone, particularly trying to get the West Main and Maple Hill Drive area, get those businesses to keep those sidewalks clean. I think last year, we only had to clean one sidewalk with somebody that didn't, I mean, so it doesn't feel, you know, it seems like these don't make a difference, but from a community standpoint, they do make a difference, that, you know, so hopefully it will make his job easier. And also, I mean, we've had volunteer events around behind one of the large commercial districts here. Their bins aren't closed. They get rummaged through, and so the whole hill over by Drake Farmstead Park, we had to organize a whole team to go over there. And so this gives us a little bit more oomph, like we mean it when we say, would you please shut your refuse bins, so. Okay, next we'll move to item 13, which we, moving out of the topics for board discussion and information. And this is the resolution to support local control claim of appeal against Michigan Public Service Commission.
Did you want to do public comment?
I will, yeah. But first I was going to take a motion.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution of support for the local control claim of appeal to the Michigan Public Service Commission.
Second.
Motion by Clerk Farmer and a second by Trustee Ford. Since this is an action item by the board, I will take time to take public comment on this item. If you have any comments for the board that you wish to share regarding this, now would be your time to speak. And I will close public comment. I will reopen public comment.
So I think it's a really good intention to reaffirm the resolution tonight. And I thank you for being willing to reaffirm that. But I think residents deserve a full truth about what that resolution actually says. Sometimes they're really hard to read. When this resolution was first discussed in December of '24, Oshtemo removed the strongest language used by other townships defending local control and opposing the erosion of local authority under PA 233. What remained was much narrower, support for the legal challenge on how the MPSC implemented the law, not the loss of local control. Specifically, the final resolution removed all of these substance statements that were suggested by the Michigan Township Association. Statements removed include maintain and advance local control, the criticism of state policies reducing local control, the reference to the further erosion of local control, support for the coalition's efforts to protect local control, the claim that Oshtemo would have joined the lawsuit had they had a chance at that time. Also removed was the unequivocal support of local control. Those statements matter. Those were the ones that were against PA 233. So I'm asking tonight, and I'm assuming that's why Trustee Ford asked, if the language from the previous resolution had changed. I'm assuming that there was a hope that that PA 233 language had not been put back in. And I've read it, I've compared them, I'm a detail person. None of the support against PA 233 was put back in. It's simply the legal challenge. So, is this board supporting the lawsuit only because of the MPSC's implementation language, while still also supporting PA 233 itself, as was stated during the December 2024 meeting, supporting PA 233, that we needed it in place to force these battery systems in, to force solar in? And more importantly, are each of you personally for or against PA 233 itself? And if you're against it, why is the MTA's suggested language, the anti-PA 233 language, still gutted in today's resolution? Again, good intentions. Residents should not have to decode carefully edited resolutions that sound really good. Political wording is dangerous. Please carefully answer and put your actual position on the record. Thank you.
Oh, hold on one second. Okey-doke.
Okay, thanks. Amanda Miller, gosh, there are so many unanswered questions right now. How many people here tonight are lawyers? Just raise your hand if you don't mind. None? Okay. I'm not. Has the board considered hiring a consultant or a second legal for a second opinion regarding our direction on continuing forward with the WEO? You are eager to hire consultants for less important things with our money. Master plan, EV vehicles. Those are nowhere nearly as important. Is the planning commission moving in the right direction in light of PA 233 and the case that's going forward? I'm not sure we here know the answer to that, but it would be well worth the investment, and the township has the money. Make sure, if I were in your seat, I want you to, and I would want to make sure that I did everything in my ability to make sure I don't cause any harm to our community. I just don't know. And back in the day, it was okay to have a little bit of lead. Remember that? It was safe. I'm just trying to compare. Like, we don't know the things that we do not know. So I would urge you to hire a consultant. Why not? That's a drop in the bucket. Hire another legal, somebody that has expertise in this area. It's new, it's ever-changing, it's quickly changing. And that is not a slight upon our legal advisor here, it's not. And we know in Almena, they hired somebody that was an environmental lawyer. I mean, I don't know if you guys feel comfortable right now. I don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a couple of, I agree with everything she was just saying. I just want to remind the board a couple of things, that you do have authority. It's not like Public Act 233 strips it all away. And in fact, you're liable if a problem happens because of all the information I sent you in that letter. I am not a lawyer, but I absolutely had an awesome lawyer read that. And he said, I can't improve upon it. So remember that restricting high-risk utility assets from sitting atop a highly permeable drinking aquifer is not unreasonable restriction. That's what PA 233 is about. It's not under PA 233, and it's an explicit mandate to comply with pre-existing state environmental protection laws, specifically MEPA Part 17 and Part 31 of PA 451 of 1994. That says you have to do this. You don't have an option. And an environmental lawyer could help you feel confident in that if you don't feel confident right now, or your planning commission doesn't feel confident. And also, just keep in mind, Public Act 233 limits arbitrary restrictions. It does not strip the board of its legal authority to prevent predictable structural hazards to human life and local infrastructure. 10 in 1,000, I'm a doctor, 10 in 1,000 to me means it's happening to me, okay? I can't go treat my patients. I mean, I protect against 1 in a million risk because I'm that good with my patients, okay? I expect you to look at a 10 in 1,000 risk as it will happen, and we have to think about it that way. And so you have a right. If this goes to the MPS, I get those letters wrong, you will be fine. You got the Michigan Environmental Protection Act behind you. You will be fine. Stand up for your community. I know you can do it. You all seem like great people. You really do. I can see your deliberation every time I come to your meetings. So yes, you could join Zealand to get rid of this, but I think for this particular area, you have a right to just say, our people have a right to water. I mean, okay, so please keep that in mind. You're going to be okay. I would really wish, I feel comfortable because this is a little bit far away from where I live, and I feel comfortable in the law, but there's a lot of people out here, no one raised their hand, they don't have an access to a lawyer like I do. I can just go ask one for free. They don't. So if we could put something out there that they cannot worry about this, because I can fathom the stress they're going under, because there were some things that happened at our house, which is why I know so much about water, that we got rid of, okay? It was a $17 million grant that had already been sent to a community. My watch went off. And it was wrong, and the people at Eagle thanked us, my sister and I were the lead of this group, because they said we were right with our science and our math, and they see township boards get pushed around by developers all the time, and they were happy we prevented something. So maybe just do this sooner rather than later so these wonderful people can have peace. Thank you.
So just for further clarification on the reason why I was asking if there might be hidden interests or other interests or people who are involved or involved in the businesses that are trying to come into our area, is because I know that where our planning director was, and this is public knowledge, so I don't have to say allegedly.
We are talking about the moratorium.
Yep, and this is part of it.
Okay.
This is part of it. This is why I would love for us to continue the moratorium and actually get knowledge on what we're doing versus saying it and behind closed doors doing a different thing, because our planning director was at Comstock. She used to be here, then she was told, either you go or we let you go. And then we brought her back in, which is confusing to me. Why we have anybody a part of our board or under this building unless you're fire and police who isn't in our community, so you can't truly have our vested interest if you don't live here. I'm unsure why she's back here, because she was already let go once or she was told she had to leave. We can read that, so we
Again,
have knowledge of that.
your
So my point in saying this is, one of her counterparts is now, public knowledge, being sued in Comstock because it was disclosed that they had a vested interest in one of the companies they brought in. So that is why I opened it to you guys. So this is not just pie in the sky, I'm just asking questions. I actually am asking questions because I have knowledge on what's going on in other places. And I know she was connected. She still has her hands in other places, and now she's bringing it here. I'd like her to go to Portage, where she actually has an address, has a family. Do it there. Don't do it here. So that's why I asked that. So I just want to let you know so you understand why it wasn't pie in the sky. There's a reason why I said it.
I just want to remind everyone that the public comment periods should be, this isn't open public comment. Your public comment should be related specifically to the resolution to support local control claim of appeal against the Michigan Public Service.
That was about local control, exactly right.
Okay. Go ahead, Rob.
Thank you. Rob Morrison again. I was looking at the revisiting, a couple months ago, the Plan Commission had brought in representatives from Eagle and the Graham Sustainability Institute to provide us with information about how PA 233 works. And I was reviewing some of those materials today, and one thing that stuck in my mind that is relevant to this moratorium is that I support what Katie Schneider said about having really strong language, because I think the MPSC and frankly, the legislature needs to hear that from the townships a lot more louder. But one of the pieces of advice that they had is that they said communities need to figure out what their standards are, what conditions are acceptable. They really have to have that together. What are their values and vision? And now, while we have that in the master plan, my feeling is from hearing people talk here is that they don't feel that that's part of the input now of the Plan Commission. I mean, the Plan Commission isn't meeting very much. I appreciate the updates we're getting here, but that's a piece that I personally feel I don't see a connection yet. I mean, I appreciate the conversations we have in the community, but I'm not sure that we have, from my perspective, really articulated in that ordinance, because I don't know anything. I haven't seen it. Just one version from 6 months ago, that we have articulated what our values are in that. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to close public comment. We can move into, we have a motion and a second. Can you remind me?
I made the motion to adopt a resolution of support for the local control claim of appeal to the Michigan Public Service
And
Commission.
it was second by trustee Ford. Okay, so any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, so there was reference to language being taken out of the resolution. Can you speak to that, Attorney Porter?
The original resolution that was recommended, I don't know that it was MTA, I believe it was the actual coalition that provided the resolution opposing 233. I do know that the board did ask for revisions. I made those revisions, brought the resolution back to the board. The specific changes, I do not recall off the top of my head.
I remember the conversation, but I think what we ended up with was, it was a clear resolution. It was, I remember it being a little bit, trying to do too many things in one resolution. And so it was amended at the request of the board, based out of, and that meeting was a long time ago, but I remember having the conversation about changing the ordinance that came from, whether it was the MTA or the coalition attorney. Any other board conversation? So a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-2. 5 with 2 absent. Next, we have a resolution to go into closed session to meet with council regarding real estate purchase. Clerk Farmer?
Pardon me, point of order. I believe the last motion was on a resolution. and
Oh,
required a
point of
roll
order.
call vote.
Thank you very
No, that
much.
was,
That's right. Clerk, will you please, we have
Yes,
a
it
motion
Yes.
Sorry.
and a second. Will you please read the roll call? Thank you.
Trustee Sikora?
Yes.
Trustee Chapman?
Yes.
Trustee Ford?
Yes.
Trustee Cole is absent. Treasurer Bushka is absent. I vote yes. And Supervisor Bell?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted.
Thank you, trustee Ford. Next, we'll move on to a resolution to enter into closed session, item 14, with council to meet regarding real estate purchase. Clerk, would you read the resolution?
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution to enter closed session at 7:50 PM to
Second.
discuss the purchase of real estate, sorry.
Sorry,
Sure.
second.
I have a motion by Clerk Farmer, a second by Trustee Ford. All in favor, say aye. Resolution. Clerk, will you please read the, can't do two things at once, apparently.
Trustee Ford?
Yes.
Trustee Chapman?
Yes.
Trustee Sikora?
Yes.
Trustee Cole is absent, Treasurer Bushka is absent, I vote yes, and Supervisor Bell?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, we are in closed session.
Thank you.
This is the first I've ever heard of a bus station.
A
I don't, a bus station.
It's not a bus station, it's an energy station.
I'd never heard of it before yesterday.
So is it the power line that goes from the bus station to your area, is that gonna, is it related?
I don't know anything I don't know what a bus station is.
No, battery, battery energy storage system that would
If
connect
there's a
up to the
battery
substation.
station somewhere in Oshtemo, or somewhere anywhere, I'm not aware of it. And if there is, it has zero connection with what we're doing and what Jamie's doing in Oshtemo.
You told us you didn't know what you're putting in there. You just said that to me, you don't even know what's going in there. So how are you trying to tell everybody what's not going in there if you don't know what's in there?
Are you leaving?
No, but I'm not gonna sit here and listen to a
I'd love to
salesperson.
answer your question. I'm hoping you're not leaving.
I've already asked you the question. I said, well, what is it? You said, I don't know what it is.
I'd love to answer your question.
Because they were gonna start the
Ask the
session.
question, please. What is the question?
You're the realtor, man.
What is
why are you
going in
talking?
there?
You're the realtor.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, all what I'm
this is
saying
not
is that,
appropriate.
what's not appropriate?
You giving us a sales pitch on things you don't understand. You don't understand what a bus is. You called it a
I told
bus.
you, I'm not going to be.
You got your commission.
That's okay.
You'll get your commission.
If you guys would like to listen and hear what's going on, we would love to answer questions.
Yeah, I would love- I
But
would
if you
actually-
don't want to,
I would
then
love
we
to
just.
hear it. So, well, do you know what's going in there?
If we could understand what Clark does.
Oh, wait.
He's the realtor, helped you get the property.
It's interesting that the organizer left. It doesn't want to hear.
It's okay,
any of
no,
that.
it's
What are
okay,
you doing?
it's okay.
On the site specifically in Oshtemo Township, or what are we doing as a
No,
company?
on that site, do you guys just build and,
We develop and build industrial real estate. Okay, that site is zoned industrial, so we cannot put residential there, we cannot put commercial there, we cannot put office there. We build, if you want to go across the street where Goodyear is, do you know where I'm talking about, off of 9th Street and
Behind UPS.
where UPS is?
The big building, right?
So there's,
Yeah, you're
right next
on
to
the
West Michigan
industrial.
International, we have a building right off I-94.
Yes, that's what we're
That's
talking
one of our
about, right?
properties.
Okay, we're talking about another one? I know the one that just got completed and it has Clark on it.
What is going in there?
Is
That's
that-
the
That one's just being finished.
Right, is there another one? And is that not Oshtemo?
That's Texas
Texas
Township.
So there's another one going into Oshtemo now.
You're
Where?
talking about that property of Parkview. That's what we're talking
I
about.
didn't know that.
So do you know where Court Furniture is?
Yes.
Does anybody know where Court
Yes.
Furniture is?
Yes.
Okay. We own that property. They do furniture distribution. Okay, it's an industrial. The property right behind there, that 40 acres that we own, that is part of our development plan to put another, it could be a Court Furniture, it could be a related business.
So you don't know?
I don't know.
You're building
We
buildings.
have a 153,000 square foot building right now being built. If you go down Corporate Woods, which is also Beatrice Drive, that is our building with our signage. Okay, right across from West Michigan International, you can drive there tonight. I do not know what's going in that building as of today, and that building is 85% done.
Do you know what goes in any of your buildings?
When we get representation from companies,
Okay, so do you have data centers, BESS, do you have those going into any of your
not a
locations?
single location do we have a data center, a BESS, or any applications.
So if you build the building and a business comes into it, do they buy that from you or do you lease it to them?
We lease it to them.
Okay, so you're building buildings for companies to come in and lease it for whatever they're gonna do.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, for what kind of use? Industrial?
Industrial use.
Are you related?
So mostly manufacturing. 90% of what we do, are either manufacturing or distributors.
But I will say that allegedly, I gotta say that so we don't get sued, guys. Allegedly, but it is public knowledge, that you paid millions over property value for
That's
the.
not true.
Okay, well, what was it?
They paid $2.something million.
2.2.
For something that was what? How much was it worth
It
originally?
was assessed at a farm level.
Uh-huh.
So the property, or
Farm?
it was taxed as a farm.
Yeah.
No, but you're talking about, so you purchased the land on Big
It's-
Cow?
No.
Oh, okay, you said farm.
I think the problem is here.
No,
there's
so,
something-
so how much was it at farm value? That's what I wanna know.
I don't know what they assessed it at, but
I
if
think-
if it was a couple $100,000, that probably wouldn't seem unreasonable.
Yep, and millions is what
Yeah,
it went for.
absolutely.
So obviously, they want back their investment. And so now they're coming to our Oshtemo.
Can I explain, let me explain how it works with regards to investment real estate
Uh-huh.
like this. So something big like this, let's use your Corporate Woods example. It's a 153,000 square foot building. Clark Logic put that building up at a cost of millions of dollars, have zero idea who's gonna go in there. And my job is to try to find somebody to put it in there. So I'm out there searching the market, trying to bring in a company, a corporation, something to go in there. Typically, what's gonna go in there is a support type service. It's gonna be a warehouse for some of our local manufacturers, trying to keep those industries here in Kalamazoo. The type of building that we're talking about over on Corporate Woods isn't going to be a great, it's not gonna be a Pfizer, it's not gonna be a production facility, it's a giant garage. So anyways, whoever leases that is going to lease that, and they are the ones that pay the taxes. They pay the property taxes. So if we can get somebody to come in there and look at that site versus the site in Indiana, we want to support our local businesses here in
You
Kalamazoo.
also to support us. And our taxes are through the roof. And on the
What
agenda
about
originally, was Clark Logic coming in and asking for an abatement.
Right. What it would be is, it would be an industrial district. And what that would mean, it would allow a specific tenant, if that tenant came in and met those qualifications, that tenant could then have their taxes abated for 12 years. Clark Logic
They're
wouldn't
the ones that
benefit.
have to apply.
Clark Logic wouldn't benefit.
You have to be a manufacturer, okay? In 1996, I bought a building in Three Rivers, Michigan. Okay, it's a 120,000 square foot warehouse. They used to make 3 million cases of paper plates and cups annually. It was my dad's largest customer for 28 years. They went on strike and closed. So we bought that building. We put Eaton Corporation in there for their transmission line. We went to the city of Three Rivers and we asked for some assistance because we had to put in new docks and new power and new facility upgrades. to get a clean room, which was a transmission line into that building. So the Three Rivers, City of Three Rivers, they approved our tax request. It went to the state of Michigan, we immediately got denied because we are not a manufacturer. We are a developer, and never once in our 56-year history have we qualified for a tax abatement.
So you wouldn't get this tax abatement, it's whoever is
But-
renting from you gets it.
It's an
But you're
attraction
using it
tool.
to attract them.
Exactly.
It's an attraction tool
So
for
you,
that manufacturer.
what is your name? I'm so sorry. Derek.
Yep.
It was misleading what you said. I'm just gonna call it out. It was misleading what you said because they use that as a tool on our shoulders to invite in whomever. And it could be, it doesn't matter if it is another Eaton. It doesn't matter if it is another manufacturer. It doesn't matter what it is, but it is on our shoulders. You saying like, they don't get it. No, they use it as a tax incentive to bring in business for them. Yeah, it is incentivization for them. It's not for us.
Okay.
Right. So,
I can understand your
yeah,
perspective.
so I mean, it's
Can
not
I-
a perspective,
can I-
it's the truth.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Okay, so as farmland, okay, that brought in, I don't know, farm is exempt from property taxes.
They have a different,
So
yeah.
we are already
I have
added to the tax base of, whether it's the court furniture building or this property, we've already brought in additional tax revenue to Oshtemo Township. So the question you need to ask yourself is, do you want that business and those jobs to come to Kalamazoo County? Or do you want to go, have them go to Indiana or Ohio? And that's what I was trying to respond to when I was making a public comment.
And I think, I don't want to cut you off, but I think it's.
So I know
really-
I confused the man when because there were 5 people asking me questions, so I confused you or didn't answer the right question when you were asking me about an ICE detention center and a BES, which we could never put in that site. And we have never had any affiliation with either of those 2 specific applications.
Yet.
They
It's hot.
they actually
It's hot.
can, Katie was describing how they can. Not right now, because you said it's an IR zoned. And it can be changed. They can ask for it later. So what if they did that? What would you do? And also, I don't know why we're even talking about this, because under the policy, we shouldn't be talking about this, because the policy says there must be a specific use for that building. We have to know it. We have to know how it's gonna affect the taxes specifically.
But that's in words only. They don't.
How many jobs it's gonna offer?
We
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
create this whole report to let us know
But I think the
what they're
important thing to
even going
mention
to be
though,
voting on.
I think it's really important to mention though, like it or not, with regards to this, what is it, PA 198?
No,
This is-
239.
No, PA 198 is what we're talking about.
Oh, right, yes.
It has nothing to do with
Yet.
the other one.
Yet,
They're
Derek.
completely, they're apples and oranges.
They're not.
I think they came together just out of coincidence, and I think we're confusing the 2 issues.
No, we're not.
They're definitely
Here,
getting-
we're
Give it a
They're
not.
month.
definitely getting the heartache of the dust
I think so.
facilities.
The issues.
I was wondering,
He's trying to be.
we didn't get anything.
I don't even know where that property is for this BES facility.
Well, no, it
And
was.
and people are commenting about my company on
Well,
Facebook.
Explain it.
Right, exactly.
But, and I don't even understand why somebody would do that.
But when we look at your property,
There's very little power.
that's where the best facilities go. That's where data centers go.
But there's no substation.
Just did.
That's where they go.
Well, since
They go next to a substation.
Because the best facilities, does
So how far away is
I
this?
move to return to open session.
Have a motion and a second to return to open session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5 with 2 absent. Would you please take your conversations, if you wish to continue speaking with, on the topic regarding Clark Logic, out into the hallway, please? All right. Okay, we are moving to,
No.
nope.
I move that we proceed as discussed in closed session.
Support.
The motion by Clerk Farmer, support by Trustee Ford. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 with 2 absent. Okay. Next, we'll move to item number 15, which is your opportunity to provide public comment on any topics. And so now would be your opportunity to do that.
Hello? Yep. Gary DeBryan, Oshtemo. I just want to make a comment that I've made before. This is not against anybody or for anything. When you guys talk into those microphones, you got to be right up here. Honest to God, they're the worst things I've ever seen. And, you know, Michael's soft-spoken anyway, and I'm 72 years old, but I can't hear what you're saying at all unless you just get right up there. Sherry, you're doing a great job, and Dusty, same way. But some of the others, you just got to get close. Thanks.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, Katie Libey, and unfortunately, Chief is not here any longer, but I just had a couple comments regarding the EV chief vehicle. I would agree with the original assessment from Kristen Cole and some of you that it doesn't seem like a smart idea to have an electric vehicle for an emergency response vehicle, whether he's the first on the scene or not. I heard what he said today, that Trustee Ford was able to convince him because you got to go get gas in a car now. It takes maybe 10 minutes to fill up with gas. I would like to know how long does it take to fully charge an EV vehicle. I don't think those things are equal amount of time. And if you're in an emergency situation when time matters, I think that should be a consideration. I also am interested in what is the cost difference between an EV vehicle and the necessary infrastructure, such as the charging stations and canopy and whatnot, compared to the combustible engine vehicle. And I would imagine that the EV vehicle would be quite a bit more expensive than it would be to get the traditional combustible engine vehicle. Thank you. So that's my comments.
Thank you.
Rob Morrison again. I have some concluding comments that start with water. And that is really talk about the ordinance. Is the current energy ordinance revision process, it's not just about an ordinance. It is an act that will reflect our values and vision for the future. We must become better stewards of our natural resources and, like many indigenous peoples practice, preserve these essential resources for future generations. An ordinance that allows industrial businesses in rural, residential, and agricultural areas is not compatible with stewardship. We must take control of our natural resources away from private industry and from profit-making systems that do not benefit everyone in society. This is also a moral and ethical matter. And I make these statements not to scold this board, but to just get you thinking about this, because this is all the ordinances, everything that we do from now on is whether future generations are going to be able to survive on this planet. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Gothi.
Hi, Bruce Gothi, M Avenue. Gonna reset my clock or?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I shouldn't take 4 minutes. The Tigers don't win every game, but you guys are not winning this tonight. This is embarrassing. The electric vehicle discussion is just crazy. And it just gives me pause and fear about how we're gonna go with the BES, how we're gonna go with an ordinance. It's just crazy. We have so much time, according to the planning director, but keep canceling meetings. Back to the vehicle discussion. At lunchtime, Congresswoman Hillary Scholten said 95% of Americans think we're in an affordability crisis. Also that was on Facebook. Also at lunchtime on Facebook, Senate candidate Haley Stevens said 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So what are we doing spending extra money on an electric vehicle for the fire chief? We never did do the cost analysis. I'm sure Treasurer Bushka is spinning on her vacation. We never analyzed. It's about $3,000, that's been previously reported, to hook up power at a charging station at his house. In a memo, here's in tonight's packet, a June 18 memo from Attorney Porter to Chief McComb says, quote, "The Township Board has determined that the fire chief will operate an electric vehicle," end quote. June 18th, it's July 14th. That's quite interesting. The vehicles quoted, one's a 26 internal combustion engine, so now we know from the chief would be a 27 vehicle. That's cheaper. It's compared to a 2025 electric vehicle. Why is that, Zach? They took it out of production. They didn't make any in 2026. They ain't gonna make any in 2027. Is that because it's such a great vehicle and they're all gung-ho and successful in sales? No, they don't. They stopped making it. So there is no apple farmer, apples and apples comparison, because they don't make the electric vehicle needed anymore. The other one that we were looking at as a township was on a recall. So that's all kinds of craziness, and it's embarrassing. And now we have scarcity. Can't get them anymore. Can't get a 2026 model. We can only get a 2027 model if we wait, if, the vehicle lasts that long. So let's run out and spend more money on the more expensive electric vehicle and infrastructure. Haven't analyzed those costs, but here we are. You're going to make a decision in 2 weeks. You're going to vote on it. Thanks.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, Amanda Miller. On the electric vehicle, just some questions. I hope they are not redundant. Yeah, what is the cost? You kind of just said that. What's the cost for the charging station to be placed in his personal home? What is the plan for when he moves? Will a station have to be installed in the next chief's home? Will the township install a charging station? Or basically, does that increase the value of his property, or any chief, not him? The chief's home, in theory, could increase property value on taxpayer dollars. Just questions to look into. What will and additionally, I don't think we talked about this, but when he's charging it at home, that's a work vehicle. Normally, he would be paying for gas. Now, he's paying for that out of his own pocket. I just think there's like a lot of questions that need to be thought through, and maybe if you ever do move forward on that, which we don't know if we're going to, but there needs to be a whole outline section on what happens when the next person comes in if you have a vehicle like that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Andrea, about the electric vehicles for the chief. I was reading through, the chief wrote up pros and cons, and he was, like you said, he's willing to be the test case. I don't like the idea of our first responders being the test case. But I think we have a local authority that can answer some of these questions. It's Kalamazoo Metro Transit. They have no electric vehicles in their fleet. None of the big buses, not the transport vans or the passenger vehicles to take people to doctor appointments. And they've listed 3 reasons. They're too expensive to purchase. They're too expensive to maintain. No one has questioned, how do we maintain this electric vehicle? And third, the reliability during the winter. We have a terrible winter here, heavy snow. What happens when there's a huge pileup on the freeway in the middle of January? We've got 2 feet of snow. The chief's out there for 5 hours, and the vehicle dies. Metro Transit says they can't risk leaving passengers at a bus stop for an extra 20 minutes because of cold weather affecting their batteries. And our chief is going to be stranded on the freeway during a snowstorm. I know over the 4th of July weekend, I was out of power for 3 days. So he's going to have to go to different places to charge his vehicle when we're having a situation here in Oshtemo with power and trees down. We had a huge tree come down on 5th Street, and our neighborhood had to get together with chainsaws to take care of that. So I think it's a bad idea.
Seeing no further public comment, I'm going to close public comment, and we'll move into board member comments and committee updates. Trustee Chapman?
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting as close as I can. Got to be a part of the Election Commission, which I was recently appointed, and we got to go through the process. We had several of our citizens in the community there, and everything went accordingly. We also today went over our representation at each of our polling districts, which is equal representation, both Democrat and Republican. But my planning commission meeting, of course, did not occur. When the next occurs, I will update this group accordingly. But I have nothing further at this time.
Thank you. Hold on. Trustee Ford?
No updates tonight.
Trustee Sikora?
Yes, thank you. Let me scroll up on my sheet here. The Oshtemo Friends of the Parks held our monthly board meeting just before this meeting. We had our first Music in the Park concert on Sunday, June the 28th. It was well attended. Our next concert is this Sunday, the 19th. It'll start at 6:30 p.m. and run to 8 p.m. at Flesherfield Park. The music group is called Blueback. It's a Southwest Michigan group that plays many American music genres in classical styles, including blues, country, Americana, roots rock, and jazz. We'll also have the Kona ice truck there for refreshments, especially if it's kind of warm out. The Fruit Belt Rail Trail ribbon cutting is also on Sunday, July 19th at 6 p.m. right before the Music in the Park concert. It'll be at the trailhead right next to Flesher Field, so you can attend one or both events very easily, parking just one time. Our flagpole courtyard improvement project will resume activity with the contractor planning to start work on Monday, and they should finish that within a few days. On Tuesday, June the 30th, I attended the second annual Public Works field trip. This year, we learned about and toured the KL Avenue landfill site and EPA Superfund site. Thanks to Public Works Director Anna Horner for arranging everything, starting with a presentation by Public Works and technical team members of the KLA group, and then getting us over to the landfill site for a tour. I appreciated the opportunity as my home on West KL received municipal water before I moved there due to the pollution of the aquifer. And then after I moved there, I granted an easement allowing the group to install a monitoring well on my property. Also on June 30th, I attended a neighborhood meeting update on the indoor youth and amateur sports facility. This Friday, I'll attend a training session for the county-led early voting election workers who will be chairing one of their sites. On Saturday the 25th and Sunday the 26th, I'll chair the early voting precinct at Cooper Township, which is actually not part of the county group. And then on Monday the 27th, I'll switch to working as the chair for the county's group's site at the Portage Parks and Recreation Building. I've also fielded several questions about how the board appointment process works. We've had people say they fill out the application online but don't get any response. I know we have at least one person for Friends of the Parks who's come to the last 2 meetings, and we'd like to make sure we get them appointed. There must be something stuck in the system that they're not moving along, and people don't hear back, and we'd like to keep people involved. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will see you at that chair training this Friday. All site supervisors are going to be in attendance, which is really good. So I've been fulfilling our duties that come along with our early voting agreement with the county. So we've been down testing machines and preparing curriculum for training. That is all now complete. Our training, our in-house training is now complete. The election workers were just approved tonight at the Election Commission meeting, and those lists will be sent out to the county chairs of the Democratic and Republican parties tomorrow, which is part of our legal obligation. And we are ready for the August 4th election. And I do encourage people, if you're thinking about working elections, I encourage you to go to our website and put in an application. I will be hiring for November. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Checking my dates here. Okay, I think I shared many of my updates or information earlier. I just have a couple things to close us out. Tomorrow, July 15th, is our budget kickoff meeting. Our accountant, Ben, will be there. I've had a pleasure working with Ben, and I think we're really going to benefit from having that information and advice a part of this process. My next supervisor open office hour is July 21st. I will be canceling that open office hour because I will be at the Board of Review hearing that day, which will be here, which is part of the work of the assessing department. So we'll be here. I'll be in that meeting a good chunk of the day. And then just another reminder, the next community conversations is August 6th here at Township Hall. And with that, I will conclude my comments, and this meeting is adjourned. Thanks for being here.